I met Christina at an industrial relations seminar. It was mostly crap from people who had never held an instrument in their hands and had no real experience. They were full of theories that they had learned from textbooks, but my company paid to attend, so I was there. When we broke the seminar for lunch, I headed to the hotel restaurant. I went to the toilet to relieve myself, and when I got to the restaurant, all the seats were taken, and the manager told me that I would have to wait at least 20 minutes. She asked my name to add it to the list, but I told her not to worry and decided to go somewhere else for lunch. I heard a voice. I wish I could do that. I turned around and saw an extremely attractive brunette sitting in the waiting area. "Why don't you do the same?" I asked. "There are many restaurants here." "No car. I could get to one, but then I wouldn't have time to get back in time for the afternoon seminar session." "No problem. You can come with me if you can tolerate the dirty old man for an hour." "You are not old. I was a dirty old man when it came to beautiful women." "I'll take a chance," she said, stood up, took my arm, and we walked. The closest place was the Village Inn restaurant, so we went there. On the way, I asked where she worked, and was surprised to learn that she worked for the same company as me, only in one of the suburban offices. She didn't have a car and came to the seminar by bus. We chatted over dinner, and I learned that she was single and lived with 2 friends. She found out that I was single and had a 3-room house. Why does a bachelor need a 3-room house? I'm planning for the future. I won't be single forever and hope to have children, so I'll need extra rooms, and my dad has convinced me that it's better to build equity than collect rent receipts. I had enough saved for a down payment, so I bought a house. She smiled a little when she heard this, and then we discussed the seminar and found out that she had the same opinion about what was being presented there. The waitress brought one bill, and when lunch was over, Chris asked how much to pay her, but I said I would treat her. When we returned to the meeting room, she thanked me for lunch and went to her seat, and I to mine. When the seminar ended, I talked for another 10 minutes with several acquaintances who were also there, and when I went down to the lobby, I saw that it was pouring rain. I saw Chris at the door, looking at the rain, and I remembered that she told me that she was getting to the seminar by bus, and I understood what she was thinking about. She didn't want to go to the bus stop and wait for the bus in the rain. I approached her and asked if she wanted to come with me instead of waiting for the bus, and she agreed with a smile. By the time I dropped her off at home, I already had a date set up for dinner and a dance on Friday night. On Friday night, when I came to pick her up, I met her 2 roommates. Brenda was a sexy blonde, and her whole appearance screamed, "Have sex with me, please, someone have sex with me." Maria was a beautiful red-haired girl with a slender body that seemed unable to support her breasts, which I estimated to be a size 38 or 40. On the way to the restaurant, I noticed Chris looking at me with a wistful smile and asked her why she was smiling. "I saw the way you looked at my neighbors. Nothing new. All the guys look at them the same way." "Why does this make you smile?" "Because I know what guys want to do with them when they see them." "Again, why does it make you smile?" "I smile because I know something that all those guys looking at them don't know." "And what is it?" "They both love women and adore each other." "I hope the fact that you're on a date with me means you don't share their views on men." "You could say that." We talked over dinner and learned a lot about each other. She was one of 6 children and the only girl, and as a result, playing with her brothers and their friends, she grew up to be a tomboy. She went to college on a basketball scholarship and has worked where I work since she graduated. "I know what our company pays, so you should be able to afford a car. Why do you ride buses?" She smiled while we were talking, but when she heard this question, the smile disappeared. She looked at me silently for about 10 seconds and then said, "I don't need a car because I don't have a driver's license. They're not hard to get. I don't have them because they were taken away from me." I could tell from her tone and response that this was a sensitive topic for her, and it was best for me not to touch on it, so I remained silent, but then she continued, "It wasn't my best time. I caught my husband in bed with a bitch who was my best friend. I went and got blackout drunk and was stupid enough to drive in that state. I crashed into a bridge support and crashed my car. Luckily, I had my seat belt fastened and the airbag deployed. I was given a Dewey for driving under the influence, and I didn't see the point in buying another car until I could get my license back. Should have them back by the end of this month. Still married? Hell no, I got rid of his worthless ass when I got sober. She smiled and said, he got his way. He married this bitch, and she cheated on him, got infected, and passed the disease on to him. I laughed for weeks when I found out about this. Didn't that put you off getting married? No, but I will be much more selective when choosing my next husband. I'll have to be confident in him before I say yes to the proposal. What about your story? I expected a man your age to be married already. Similar to yours, only 3 or 4 times worse. My fiancée Sarah had a bachelorette party, and 2 days before the wedding I received a package in the mail. They were pictures of my fiancé having sex with 3 or 4 guys. The package also contained a note asking, "Are you sure you want to marry someone like this?" I never found out who sent this package, but the answer to the question was no, and not just no, but hell no. She tried to convince me that it didn't mean anything. It was just the last cry before becoming a faithful wife and mother, but I didn't buy it. A year later, she married another guy, and he caught her cheating and shot her and her lover. A year after I broke up with her, I met Marge, dated her for 6 months, and then proposed. She agreed and moved in with me. 2 months later, I returned home 2 days early from a business trip and found her in bed with 2 guys. Next in line was Jackie. We dated for about 4 months before she moved in with me. Same story again with Marge. Came home early and found her in bed with a guy. The guy quickly got dressed and ran away, and when he left, I asked her why she did it. She looked at me like I was an idiot and said, "Did you see him? I just had to try something different." Since then, I've become a little more careful with relationships. It took me a year to start dating again. After dinner, we went out for drinks and dancing. We had a good time, and I enjoyed being with her. When I took her home, I received a kiss on the cheek and a "call me, I had fun, and I'd like to do it again." The second date led to a dozen others. On the 4th date, I received a kiss goodbye. On the 6th, we had a hug. On the 9th, she said that she didn't want to kiss in the car. And since we can't do this at my house without an audience, I think we should go to yours. The next 2 dates ended at my house, and on the 2nd, she asked, "Why are we wasting time? We both know what we want to do." I took it slow because I didn't want to scare you. It's good to know you don't want to scare me. Let's go to your bedroom. I want to see if we have a future. What do you mean? Several of my friends got married and then divorced because they found out that they were sexually incompatible with their husbands. In all cases, they had not had sex with their partners before marriage. Both said they would not have married these men if they had known in advance what they were getting into. I know what they are talking about because I have experienced it too. I had a few boyfriends before he came along, and I dumped a couple of them because they weren't good lovers. So if I don't satisfy you tonight, I'll be your everything. Thank you, but no. Take your coat. I'll take you home. What? You can't be serious? I'm ready, and you say no? Yes, I'm serious. You're talking nonsense. Do you refuse freely offered sex? Why are you doing this? I have my reasons, and I won't say anything more. Come on, grab your coat, and let's go. She took her coat and walked to the front door, took her cell phone out of her purse, and said, "Fuck you, Dave. I'll call a taxi. I don't want to be near you right now." She went out and closed the door behind her. I was going to go out and catch up with her to tell her not to waste money on a taxi, but I stopped. The break was not complete, but it was still a break. If I had caught up with her and dissuaded her from calling a taxi, it would have only delayed the process. The way things worked out for now, that was the end. I decided to leave everything as it is. I went into the kitchen, poured myself a generous helping of Jack on the rocks, and sat at the kitchen table, thinking about what had just happened. I really liked Christina. Crap. Admit it, Dave. It was more than just a like. I really thought we could do it. I finished Jack and went to bed. The next few weeks passed, and for me it was basically work, home, sleep, work again. I thought about Christina often, but resisted every urge to pick up the phone and call her. It was Thursday, 3 weeks since I last saw Christina, when I walked into my office and saw Christina waiting there. Finally, you have come. I've been waiting for you for half an hour already. Lucky you. It could have been longer. I'm 10 minutes early. What brings you here? I need to find out what happened. I thought we were fine. This is not the time or place to talk. Okay, then set a time and place. I looked at her and thought, do I really want to discuss this? And then decided to give her what she wanted. At Hideaway at 5:30. Are you kidding? Are you really coming? I will be there. She left, and as I walked away, I wondered why I didn't tell her that it was private, and I didn't want to talk about it. But even as I thought about it, I understood why I didn't. The fact that she was waiting for me in the office told me that she would not leave it alone until she knew the reason. I just decided to end it. I did almost nothing that day. It seemed like I was looking at my watch every 10 minutes, thinking about the meeting at Hideaway at 5:30. Finally, the day ended, and I headed to meet Christina. She was already there, sitting in a booth in the corner, waiting for me. She had already ordered a drink, and there was a shot of Jack on the table waiting for me on the rocks. I sat down, took the drink, took a sip, and put the glass back on the table, looking at her. Okay, Dave, tell me everything. Alice, Elise, Marge, Sarah, and Jackie. What does it mean? You wanted to know what happened between us, and I just told you. You didn't say anything, you just said 5 names. These names are the reason for our breakup. Do you remember our last time together? She nodded, and I asked, remember what you said? She shrugged, and I said, remember. What words followed? Let's go to your bedroom. She shook her head as if to say, I don't remember, and I said, your exact words were, let's go to your bedroom. I want to see if we have a future. Do you remember now? Yes. For me, this meant that you said that if I didn't cope, then I would be everything for you. Remember what I told you about my history with women. I never talked about high school and college. From 10th grade until graduation, I dated 2 girls, and both dumped me. This happened again in college. I met Alice at first-year orientation, and by mid-semester we were dating. She left me to be an athlete in my 2nd year. In my 3rd year, I started dating Liz, and she traded me for another guy in the 3rd week of senior year. Are you starting to understand? Do you think maybe I'm starting to wonder what's wrong with me that I can't keep a girl? All this shit is over, and then you tell me that if I can't handle you in bed, then we have no future. Can you imagine what that would do to me if we did that, and then you started saying no to my invitations? Well, to hell with all this. I'm sorry you took it that way. I meant it as a joke. How was I supposed to understand this? You just told me about your girlfriends and how you dumped a couple of guys who were bad lovers. Right after this, you tell me about the future. I couldn't see the joke in this. This was just a joke. I came here because I wanted to find out what went wrong and try to fix it. I thought we were doing well before things went wrong, and I want that to continue. I want to get us back on track. She looked at me expectantly as I considered her words. I also thought we were doing well and wanted it to continue. Like her, I wanted to get us back on track, but in the back of my mind there was a small spark of apprehension. Maybe it was not courageous of me, but I was afraid of being hurt again. If it happened again, I wasn't sure if I could survive it again. While she said she was joking when she talked about the future, she also said she dumped a couple of guys who didn't live up to her expectations in bed. I sat and looked at her while all these thoughts raced through my head. Suddenly, from somewhere in my mind, a voice rang out. Get it together, Dave. You may never meet someone as wonderful again. Don't let her go. I took a deep breath and asked, would you like to have dinner with me tomorrow? Her smile when she heard this lit up the whole room. We agreed that I would pick her up at 6 in the evening, and she got up and went home. I arrived at her house at 6 and rang the doorbell. Brenda opened the door, and when she saw it was me, her face became stern, and she said, "Oh, it's you." I can get angry just like anyone else, and her attitude made me angry. "Yes, damn it, it's me. Do you want to stop your vile attitude and inform my companion that I am here?" She turned and walked away, leaving the door open. I didn't know if I should follow her, but I decided not to. A minute later, Chris came out the door. "Why are you standing here?" I felt it was safer to stay here than to go inside where I might have a fight with Brenda. She looked at me carefully and said, "I'll take my purse." She returned with her purse, and we went to the car. As I pulled away from the sidewalk, she asked, "Will you tell me what happened there?" I told her, and she said, "Sorry, it's my fault." "Your fault? How is this your fault?" "The night I left your house, I came back in a bad mood, and Brenda and Maria asked me what happened. I told them that you kicked me out. I know you didn't do it, but that's how I felt at the time. The way this happened meant to me that you were giving up on our relationship. They both wanted to get in the car, drive to your house, and kill you. It didn't help them that I've been in a bad mood ever since. When I told them I was going on a date with you tonight, they tried to talk me out of it. They said you would hurt me again and that you didn't deserve a second chance. They're upset with me because I told them not to interfere. They are my best friends from school, and they worry about me. Don't let Brenda's attitude bother you." After dinner, we went to the Boom Boom Club for drinks and dancing, and from the way Chris cuddled up to me as she danced, I could tell how she hoped the evening would end. I wanted it too, but the fear of rejection was still present in my mind after that. Once again, from the depths of my mind, a voice called, "Get it together, Dave." At 11:30, we got into the car, and I asked, "Where to?" She looked at me and said, "To your house." She said it as a question. The voice in my head was now screaming, "Get it together, Dave, get it together and do it." I smiled and said, "To my home." When we arrived at my house, she immediately went to the bedroom. There were no conversations. We entered the house and immediately went to the bedroom. I followed her. We made love. Chris sat up and said, "Oh shit, look at the time. I need to go to work today. You need to take me home so I can shower and change." On Saturday, we have a checkup scheduled for Monday, and I'm going to make sure we're ready. I hid my disappointment and got dressed. On the way to her house, she apologized. I didn't expect the night to end the way it did. Knowing I had to work today, I had to wait until the next date. When I asked if we could meet in the evening, she said she couldn't because she would be completely exhausted, and she had a baby shower planned for Sunday. I didn't insist. When we arrived at her house, she gave me a kiss and quickly went inside. On the weekend, I was busy with housework. That's one of the sacrifices when you choose to build equity rather than collect rent receipts. You can't call your landlord to fix something. On Monday, I called Christina's office and Mavis answered the phone. Mavis used to work in my office, but transferred to the Hanover office to be closer to her child's home and school. I asked for Christina, and Mavis said she was in a meeting. Since she was an old friend, I asked how she was feeling, asked about her husband and children, and then listened to her answers. Then, purely to keep the conversation going, I asked how the check was going. Examination. What kind of check? The one you had to work for on Saturday. I don't know anything about the inspection, and no one has worked in this office on a Saturday in the 2 years I've been here. I guess I'm confusing something. Say hi to Bert for me, okay? When I hung up, I shook my head and told myself that I should have known better than to get close to Christina again. If I could grab by the throat that voice in my head that kept telling me, "Get it together, kid," I would strangle it to death. I picked myself up and looked where it got me. Once again, I was left with the feeling that I wasn't good enough in bed. Alice, Eliz, Sarah, Marge, Jackie, and now Christina. Damn it. I will start using the services of prostitutes, where the only one I need to satisfy will be myself. I knew a couple of these girls and knew that they both provided extras on dates. Of course, this decision did not put an end to all the thoughts running through my head. What am I missing? I gave Christina everything I had. It seemed good to her. Was it just acting? Probably so. What is wrong with me? Maybe if I pay Lois or Tanya a little more, they can evaluate my skills and give me advice. On Tuesday morning at work, I debated whether to call the Hanover office and ask for Christina, but decided not to. We're done, so leave it at that, I thought. I spent most of the morning on Wednesday in budget meetings, and when I finally returned to my office, Myra, my secretary, gave me several messages. One of them was from Christina, and when I sat down at my desk, I picked up the phone to call her. I punched in the first 5 digits before I stopped and said, "Hell no." I hung up and threw the note into the trash. I was able to put Christina on the back burner and have a productive day. I have long taught myself to turn off my mobile phone when I go to work and turn it on only after work, already in the car. I was not surprised to see missed messages and voicemails from Christina. I deleted them without listening or reading them. When I got home, I made myself a snack. Jack Thomas was retiring as a regional manager, and I was promoted to take his place. His going-away party was scheduled for Saturday, and I had originally planned to invite Chris to the event. Fortunately, I didn't have time to call her yet. After dinner, I called the Faraday agency to set up a date for Jack's party and asked for either Lois or Tanya, if possible. Luckily, Lois was available, and I made the necessary arrangements. A little background. In my work, there have always been social events that need to be attended. Some were skippable, but others were a must. You could choose not to come, but that wouldn't be a smart career move, if you know what I mean. Once we had such an event, and I wasn't dating anyone at the time. If you come alone, you really stand out. I was talking to Jack Thomas during the break and mentioned that I hate coming to these events alone. He told me about Faraday and explained how it works and what the prices are. He explained that most girls are just escorts who won't even give you a kiss goodbye. He then said that there are a few that provide special services, but this is strictly a private agreement between you and the girl, and the agency is not involved. He then said that if I was interested in special services, I should request Lois, Martha, or Tanya. I called Faraday, requested Lois, and took her with me to the event. When it ended, I mentioned that I had heard about her special services. We discussed it, and I got what I wanted. I have used Lois' services several times, and she always agreed with a smile. She only worked through an agency, but she gave me her business card so I could contact her and make sure she was available before calling the agency. One day I called, and she said that she would not be available for the night I wanted, but suggested that I call the agency and ask for Tanya, promising to warn her about me. I used their services for a year whenever I needed a date. Then I used them between Marge and Sarah, and then again between Sarah and Jackie. So I took Lois to Jack's going-away party again. The irony of the situation was not lost on me. I brought a girl Jack recommended years ago to his going-away party. I received several calls from Christina throughout the week, but did not answer them. On Thursday and Friday, I holed up at my favorite sports bar after work. This was a place I had never taken Christina to, so I wasn't worried about her finding me, if she was even looking. But it didn't work as well as I hoped. On Friday, after an hour there, sitting at the bar watching the Arizona Diamondbacks game against the Colorado Rockies, I suddenly felt something cold and wet pour on my head and glass down my back. I turned around, fists clenched, ready to punch some idiot, and came face to face with Christina's friends Brenda and Maria. The bartender, seeing what happened, threw me a towel. I relaxed my fists, grabbed the towel, and shouted at these girls. "What the hell are you doing? Why did you do this?" "Because you're an asshole and you deserve it," Brenda snapped. "Damn idiot," Maria supported her. "What have I done to you to deserve this?" Brenda, still furious, said, "You set up our friend Chris, and when you hurt her, you hurt us." "How exactly did I set her up?" "Slept with her and then left her." "Rave, she left me. When I asked to meet again, she said some nonsense about work on Saturday and a baby shower on Sunday. She forgot that I work for the same company. and I know that she is lying. Just to be sure, I checked, and no one was working in that office from the time they closed on Friday until they opened on Monday. It was a little exaggerated, but they didn't know it. Brenda looked at Maria, who said, "Oh shit," and they both walked away. As soon as they left, Max the bartender asked me what happened. Friends of a girl I once dated. They're mad because I left her. I finished my drink and went home to change into dry clothes. I picked Lois up on Saturday, and on the way to Jack's going-away party, I told her my idea of having her evaluate my skills in bed, and she laughed. How many times have we been together? I already know you as much as I can, and I can say that everything is fine with you in bed. You're not a superhero, but you're much better than average. I don't know what your problem is with women, but it's definitely not your skills in bed. That was nice to hear, but then it occurred to me that I was talking to the wrong person. To Lois, I'm a client, and how likely is it that she'll say something I might not like? Another point to think about. I was having a great time at the party until she walked in. Why I didn't think she'd come to Jack's going-away party, I don't know. She knew Jack, so why wouldn't she come to his party? She was with some guy I'd never seen before, but I immediately took a dislike to him. How stupid is that? I closed myself off from Christina, but I'm angry at the guy she came with. I saw her notice me and move towards me, but then Lois came back from the restroom, sat down opposite me, and took my hand. Christina changed direction and took a table in another part of the room. The lounge where the party was held had a band, and Lois loved to dance, so we spent a lot of time on the dance floor. Every time we passed Christina's table, I noticed that she was looking at us. Lois noticed it too. That woman in the green dress hasn't taken her eyes off you since she arrived. What's happening? We dated for a while. Well, I think it's obvious that she'd rather be here with you and not the guy she came with. And the expression on your face when you look in her direction suggests that you, too, would like to be with her and not with me. I very much doubt that she would want to be with me. The way she ended our relationship was final. Oh, tell me. This is a personal matter. Nonsense, mate. Talk to Dr. Lois. If you can talk to me about your sexual problems, you can talk to me about anything. Well, I thought, why not, and told her about the last time I saw Christina. There must be something else. Well, lay it out. I gathered my courage and told her everything. About school, about college, and what Christina told me about her past boyfriends, and then about her saying, "Let's see if we have a future," and what happened after we made love for the first time. So that's why you wanted me to evaluate your skills in bed. I nodded. I meant what I said, mate. This was not idle chatter. Come on, let's dance. We danced for 3 songs in a row and then returned to our table. A few minutes later, Jack joined us and we started talking. Lois excused herself and went to the restroom. Jack watched her leave and shook his head. What a loss, he said. Why do you think so? I asked. She should be someone's happy wife, not a custom-made girl. It wouldn't work. What wouldn't work? Lois and marriage. Why do you think so? I once asked her to marry me and she laughed, saying it wouldn't work and explaining why. And she said she loved men too much. She likes the variety and will miss it if she gets married. She said she knew herself well enough to know that when she started missing the variety, she would start cheating on her husband. We must give her credit for her honesty and frankness. What happened between you and Chris? Everything seemed to be going well for you. It turned out that we were not suitable for each other. I could see that he wanted to know more, but I also saw that I didn't want to delve into the topic. At that moment, Lois returned, and after a few minutes of chatting, Jack stood up and went to talk to other people. As soon as he left, Lois said, "Don't be mad at me, but I interfered in your business." What are you talking about? When I went to the toilet, it was because I saw your ex-girlfriend heading there. I followed her and we talked. I think you need to sit down and talk. She says she wants it, but you don't answer her calls. After talking to her, I think you have the wrong idea about what happened. I looked towards Christina's table and saw that she was looking at us. I saw her lips whisper the word, please. You could stand up and ask her to dance. The guy she came with is only here as a favor because she didn't want to come to this event alone. Why were you even talking to her? You're one of the few guys I've dated that I really like, and I've seen the way you look at her. If there was even the slightest possibility that I could get you back together, I decided that I had to do it. I looked at Chris and saw that she was still looking at us. I hesitated, but again from the depths of my consciousness, a voice rang out. Pull yourself together, fool. Don't let her go. I looked at Lois and she said, go. I stood up and walked over to the table where Chris and her companion were sitting. As I approached, I asked her date if he would mind if I asked Chris to dance. He smiled at me and said, if I had said no, I think she would have hit me. Chris was already standing up before he finished speaking. I offered her my hand and we went out onto the dance floor. As soon as I hugged her, she asked, does this mean we can talk? Lois said she talked to you in the restroom and thinks I might be misunderstanding what happened between us. I'm curious why your companion decided to talk to me. Lois is an old friend, and when she asked why you haven't taken your eyes off me since you arrived, I told her the story. Lois is only here because I hate coming to these events alone. Just like me and Jeff tonight. Well, not today. How about dinner tomorrow? Why not today? Because we both have companions. We can't just walk away from them. You take your date home, and when Jeff takes me home, I'll come to you. I now have a license and a car. I almost said no. Even though I wanted to be with Chris again, I hadn't had sex in over a month and was looking forward to Lois' special services. And then there was the fact that even if Lois thought I had misunderstood what happened between me and Chris, maybe I had gotten it right. To hell with him. I'll go with my voice and get ready. We finished the dance, and when I took her back to her date, I told her I would leave the porch light on for her. When we returned to her table, a surprise awaited us. Lois and Jeff sat there and talked. Lois looked at us and said, guess what, guys? You both got dumped. Jeff and I have decided to switch partners, and I'm sure neither of you mind. They then stood up and walked away, leaving us with stunned expressions on our faces. Chris and I looked at each other and then both laughed. I took her hand and suggested that we find Jack, say goodbye and leave here. We found Jack, wished him luck, and told him to keep in touch with us. He looked at me, then at Chris, and then back at me and said, make sure I get an invitation to the wedding. I was a little shocked when Chris said, we'll definitely send it. In the car I asked, are we sure to send it? This is my plan, and I think I can convince you. You're going to have to try harder if you think you can do it. I don't think it will be that difficult. All I need is to show you that you misunderstood what happened the last time we were together. And how do you know what I was thinking? Oh, come on, Dave. You told me your whole history with women. When you realized I lied about working on Saturday and the baby shower on Sunday, I know what you thought. I remember how you reacted to my stupid joke about the future. When you found out I wasn't working that Saturday, I know you thought I didn't think you were good enough in bed. This is wrong. I was extremely pleased. While you and I were dating, we didn't talk about exclusivity. I was dating another guy on and off while I was going on dates with you. I had a date with him on Saturday, and I couldn't cancel it. He's already bought tickets to the show, and it wouldn't be fair to him to suddenly tell him I can't meet him. If he hadn't bought the tickets, I would have canceled our date so I could be with you on Saturday. I should have lied about it. I knew exactly how you would react if I told you I was going on a date with another guy right after we made love. I really wanted to stay and cuddle, maybe make love a couple more times, but I needed to get up and leave to convince you of my work story. I told Chuck I couldn't bear to see him anymore when he drove me home that night. The baby shower was real, and I couldn't miss it because I was organizing it. I really expected you to call me on Monday evening. I was going to suggest we be exclusive and mention that I saw the perfect ring at Zales. I was ready to come to your house and pick up where we left off on Friday night and Saturday morning. When I hadn't heard a word from you by Tuesday, I started calling, but you didn't answer. Then on Friday, Brenda and Maria told me what happened at the sports bar. I knew you'd be at Jack's party, and I was going to get you to talk to me. My plan was to wait until you went to the bathroom and then follow you and watch for you when you came out. Your companion changed my plans. As we approached the intersection on Woodward, I turned on my right turn signal to turn right, and Chris asked where I was going. To your home. I don't want to go home, I want to go to you. I checked my mirrors and saw that the road was clear, so I changed lanes and turned left onto Woodward. Chris moved closer to me and said, "You don't need to break the speed limit, but hurry up and get us to you. We have a lot to catch up on." The night passed almost the same as our first time, and we fell asleep hugging each other. Around 9, Chris said, "I wish I could do this all day, but I'm hungry right now. You need to feed me so I can maintain my energy levels." I hadn't gone grocery shopping yet and only had ingredients for toast and coffee, so I said I'd take her to the Village Inn on Wolfensberger. We talked over breakfast, and despite the fact that it could kill our mood, I still asked a question. If you were already planning to marry me, why were you dating another guy while you were dating me? She looked at me for a few seconds and then said, "I didn't really realize how strong my feelings for you were until you stopped talking to me. I felt terribly bad that I couldn't be with you. I felt terribly bad that you didn't even answer my calls. In fact, it affected me so much that I started acting like a bitch around Brenda and Maria, which I had never done before. When they came home after the incident at the Extra Point and told me about it, I knew I had to do something. If I couldn't reach you on the phone, I should have ambushed you at Jack's party. If you hadn't come there, I would have been sitting in your office on Monday waiting for you." I sat there looking at her, thinking about her words, and then decided to listen to the voice in my head. "How long do you think our courtship period should be before we get married?" "It depends on you. I know your story, and I'm guessing that with all this weight you won't want to rush. I'm ready now. The way I see it, we can get our license on Monday morning, wait 3 days, and get married on Friday. So, like I said, it's completely up to you." It was a little sudden, but I already realized that my feelings for Chris were much stronger than just sympathy. However, we had only known each other for a couple of months, and there was still a lot we didn't know about each other, so I took a deep breath and said, "I think we should slow down a little and get to know each other better before making this decision." I noticed her smile became less warm when I said that, but maybe I was wrong. "Like I said, it's up to you, but I'm ready when you're ready." After breakfast, we returned to my house and continued where we left off before breakfast. She stayed overnight on Sunday and had to rush home in the morning to get ready for work. On Monday evening, she showed up at my house with the things she would need for work for the week. "No more rushing in the morning," she said. "Our mornings will now include hugs and kisses." "Do I need to hire security? I think your neighbors will not like this, and they will come to me for revenge." Brenda and Maria are no longer a problem. I explained everything to them when I returned home yesterday. By the end of the month, I realized that I had fallen under her influence. Actually, I was glad about it. I didn't want to get up and leave her in the morning. Several times she had to literally push me out of bed. Finally, I realized that I needed to pull myself together and take action. It was Friday night and Chris asked what I wanted to do on Saturday. "I was thinking we could go pick out a ring for you." She almost lost the ring. I didn't have the strength to get up in the morning, but Chris was on a mission. She pulled me out of bed and almost forced me into the mall. By 10 in the morning, she had a ring on her finger. I got down on one knee in the jewelry store, proposed, and put the ring on her finger when she said yes. After buying the ring, we went to breakfast at Pegasus and discussed the timing of the wedding. We'd both been through big weddings before, and all Chris wanted was to just make things official. We decided to get our license on Monday and then have the civil ceremony on Friday. After breakfast, we returned home. I was preparing dinner while Chris was on the phone with her mother. When she finished the conversation, she asked, "Would you mind if plans change?" "Don't know. What happened?" "I want my mother to be at the wedding, but she won't be able to come until a week after next." "I don't think it would kill me to wait another week." "Thank you, darling. I'll make it up to you. I'll start right after dinner. Does it sound good?" Still would. The lights were dim, the music soft and smooth. We twirled around the dance floor, her head on my shoulder, and I inhaled the sweet aroma of her perfume. A quick glance at my watch told me this would be our last dance. She noticed my gaze, smiled, and asked, "Is anyone getting impatient?" I smiled and said, "You can be sure. I'm ready if you are." "Then let's get out of here." I brought Lois to our table to grab her purse, and we left the club. Lois? Yes, Lois. As I mentioned, I was promoted to regional manager when Jack retired. The work required visiting several offices in my region. I came home early from my first visit as a regional manager to find Chris in bed with Jeff, the same guy she'd been with at Jack's going-away party. She tried to convince me that it didn't mean anything. It was just the last splash before the wedding and settling down. She loved me, and with Jeff it was only sex. I didn't buy it and kicked her out. Her dating other guys while she was dating me, and her sex with Jeff while she had my ring on her finger, showed me what kind of woman she was and probably would still be. Thank God her mother was unavailable and the wedding was postponed. Christina was the last in my line. No more dating women in an attempt to find someone I can go a long way with. Now it will be Lois, Tanya, and Marfa. And no more voices telling me to get it together. Lois, Tanya, and Martha truly became my life partners. No obligations, no pain and disappointments, only pleasure and relaxation. This may not be the most traditional solution, but it worked for me. Since I made this decision, I have never regretted it. Lois, as always, was my salvation at all social events. She always knew how to carry on a conversation, how to entertain and charm the people around us. This allowed me to relax and enjoy the evening's activities, knowing I was in good hands. With Tanya and Marfa, I also found comfort and understanding. They were not only wonderful sex partners, but also good conversationalists with whom you could spend time in an informal setting. And although my life has since become somewhat simpler and more serene, I sometimes wonder if I did the right thing by abandoning the idea of true love and close relationships. Perhaps I just haven't met the one woman who could change my view of the world. But for now, I'm happy, and that's enough. When I look back at all the years I spent searching for love and all the disappointments I experienced, I realized that these were important experiences that made me who I am. And even if my life turned out differently than I once imagined, I'm happy with how it turned out. And no more voices telling me to get it together. Subscribe to our channel so that your love doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think click to the next one. Click to the next one. Click to the next